Look, man.
No, that's Dan.
Oh.
But Brad says, we draft football players. That's a terrible Brad Holmes impression. Forgive me. But anyway, my point is he's going to identify a guy in this draft that he wants. By hook or by crook, he's going to get him. We've already said, Chad, you're on record saying no way he stays at 29. He either moves up or moves back. 29 ain't going to do it. He's going to stockpile draft capital and move back, or he's going to give up a little to get the guy he wants. And that's what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to identify a guy at this combine and the in-house visits they're going to do with these prospects, and that's his guy. And by hook or by crook, he's going to get up and he's going to get his guy. Now, it's good. It's going to be a guy that other teams aren't looking at. He's going to shock us again. I'm sure of it. Right? None of these mocks that put players to the Lions, they ever work out since Brad Holmes has been in charge. Braylon says we need some dogs on defense, not rejects and has-beens. Yeah, but there's some great talent in the free agent market, Braylon. You got Xavier Howard, Stephon Gilmore. These guys are studs. You know what you're getting. That's secondary help. You've got, so if you get secondary help, are you targeting a guy for pass rush? No. You're Brad Holmes. You don't care about his position. He said there is a very small subset of players in the draft that are generational, and you don't want to miss on that player because you went to fill a need. So we have to change the paradigm. We have to change our mindset of how we look at what Brad Holmes is going to do. He's looking for the right fit, the right player, and that is also going to shape how he attacks free agency. Put it in the comments. Let me know a guy that you see either in free agency or in the draft that might be a Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell kind of guy. I'm going to give you mine before you do. He's an offensive tackle from Notre Dame. His name's Joe Alt. He plays left tackle. We don't really need a left tackle, but he's the first offensive lineman on Mel Kiper's big board. He's 6'8". He's taken over 1,000 snaps, played 33 games, and guess what? He gave up like 6 pressures in 1,000 snaps. We're not talking sacks. He got those sacks. It's 16 pressures in 1,000 snaps. 6'8", super intelligent guy, team captain. Sounds like a Brad Holmes guy to me. All he needs is a torn ACL. So, you know, a guy like that, that's a guy. And he plays tackle. Is that a real need? No, but this could be a generational player by all accounts. He's the next Trent Williams. He's the next Penei Sewell. So if that's a guy he likes, he'll go up. Mel Kiper has him going 7th to the Titans. An offensive tackle.
So you think we go all the way up there for a?
I think he tries. I think he tries. I think that's his plan is to find the guy, identify the guy, and go for the guy. Put it in the comments. Who do you think's the guy? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's Joe Alt. I'll give you a couple of, it could be Marvin Harrison. Shit, could you imagine Marvin Harrison on a rookie contract on this team? Holy moly.
Right.
At 29,
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks taken in the first round. There's a lot of chatter that J.J. McCarthy is moving up. And if he wows him at the combine, well, like we think he's going to, you could see as many as 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the first round because teams don't want to mess around and not get their guy. And Michael Penix, like Chad has said many times, Michael Penix could be available at 29 and a team wants to trade with the Lions to get Michael Penix. Or a team is looking at Michael Penix and they're drafting way too high so they can move back to 29, still get their guy, and that's Brad Holmes' chance to move up. Maybe Jared Verse, Braylon Dennis says. Braylon, that's such a great call because that was actually the next name that I was going to pick. This guy's a team captain. He's huge. He's a monster. ACC Defensive Player of the Year this year. His team went undefeated. Without their starting quarterback, they win their conference title game. They are omitted from the college football playoff. And when he's interviewed after, you know what Jared Verse said? That's things that I can't control, so I'm not going to worry about it. What? Doesn't that sound like a Dan Campbell thing? Maybe this is the guy.
I like that one.
Yeah, Jared Verse. What else you got?
Well, I'm looking in the middle of this round. I don't have anybody specific, but I have there's a bunch of these left guard center type of dudes that are in the top 100. There's like 8 of them that are all bunched in that second and third round a cluster. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm going to watch these guys bend, Mike, and see which guy's better. I don't know. I'm going to watch these guys running shorts and listen to the experts talk about it. But one of these guys or 2 of these guys is going to stand out. And Brad Holmes, I believe, is going to identify one of these guys. And I actually think the trade might be down or up. I mean, it really depends. You know, if he can't move up into the draft and he's past his guys up, you know, I mean, he's picking at 29, you know, that it may very well be that he's past those guys. He may identify some of these interior offensive linemen that can play guard, center, anywhere up in the middle of that line, or maybe some swing tackles that can play backup tackle. That's what I see, Brad. Bold move. I mean, I said 2 months ago, man, I think that in the top 10, you know, if he finds that guy, like you said, he will trade up. He'll trade some future capital because we are 1, 2, I would say probably 3 players away from having a roster that people are going to say is over the top Super Bowl contending roster.
I mean, we're already a Super Bowl contending roster, but we are, I agree with you, 2 to 3 players away from being dominant. And I think we can all agree that those 2 to 3 players would be a secondary piece, a pass rush piece, and an offensive line piece. So, I mean, it's obvious you're not a genius if you go, oh, the Lions need D-line help. Lions need pass rush. Yeah. Stevie Wonder can see that the Lions need pass rush help. They need secondary help. But the off season is a gauntlet. It is a minefield between free agency and contracts and prospects, and one prospect being better than another prospect. But you have to start looking at the intangibles and niche it down to find the right guy. It's so interesting these days compared to what it used to be. Braylon says Kool-Aid McKinstry. Man, wouldn't that be great if a guy named Kool-Aid played for the Lions?
You know, I'm putting a
Go ahead.
I'm putting a piece out today. Well, not really a piece, but you know, some of the draft prospects that we might be looking at. And I honestly believe that Kool-Aid McKinstry's teammate, and I got to find him in here because I want to get his stats up here.
He's 6'1".
He's rated a little bit higher. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. His name is Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, from Alabama.
Yep, 6 foot. He's actually younger than Kool-Aid McKinstry, and a little bit shorter, but a little bit thicker. Hits a little bit harder from what I've looked at on him. And he may be a guy that we may be looking at in the first round. And who knows which one's going to go first. One of them could be available at 29.
And Cooper DeJean from Iowa. There's an Iowa connection there with a couple of the players that Brad Holmes has drafted. They're familiar with it. They're familiar with the culture that he's coming from. He's an All-American.
Edge player from Alabama. And I'm thinking that, you know, because Brad Holmes sure does like to bring these teammates in, right? Guys with histories with each other. And, you know, Brian Branch playing there. It wouldn't surprise me if they picked an Alabama player. I like Gerard from Florida State. I definitely like that one because he's got the 6'4". You know, he's 260 pounds. He's a little bit more of a prototypical, you know, pass rusher size. And then one guy that keeps popping up right here is a center from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson. 6'3", 220, and he ain't just a center. He can be center. He can do the Graham Glasgow thing and play both guard positions. And he's the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. If he's available at 29, that's somebody I think we might snag.
I agree. Frank Ragnow's a replacement. JPJ from Oregon the recipient of the award for the nation's premier center, and been calling the plays on a sophisticated pro style offense, calling the blocking protections and things like that, like they run at Oregon.
Yep.
So,
and he could play left guard in his first season. They can train him at left guard, and he might actually be the start. He would be the starting guard, So you could double dip there.
And then learn a guy who's such a natural center anyway to learn from Frank the Tank, one of the best to ever snap the ball.
And have a guy like Graham Glasgow right there, which I do believe they'll re-sign, to teach him how to be positional versatile. I believe that will happen. They are going to get some young offensive linemen because that's one place that we're actually weak. We got great starters, but we need their air replacements.
Yeah, that's great. No, but I totally want the dude named Kool-Aid. I'm sorry. Just because I make memes and we make memes and a meme maker sees a guy named and Funky Lions fan says people do realize that we aren't the only team that says drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Like Vikings say purple Kool-Aid and so on. It's usually a team that had been bad for a minute. Well, that's a great call out, Funky Lions fan. However, if you go over to our Facebook page, that's the Villain Squad, you won't see a single Kool-Aid meme about purple Kool-Aid. It's all Honolulu blue Kool-Aid. And in our world, in the Lions world, are you drinking the Kool-Aid? Like you said, it's always a team that's been bad for a minute. I'm just saying, if we're running around with a guy named
right
Kool-Aid,
there, though.
He's 6'1". He played at Alabama.
And you're looking at both of those guys, like either one of those guys. If you put Terry on or Kool-Aid on your team, I know Kool-Aid sounds better, right?
Yeah.
He's a little bit taller. He's 6'1", 195. To me, that's what I think that we need. We need a guy that's 6 foot plus that can play on the outside and guard these big wide receivers that jump up and catch the ball over us and kick our ass. We need that guy.
And then there's Nate Wiggins, corner out of Clemson.
Yep.
He's the highest drafted corner on Mel Kiper's board. Got him at 11. So he'd be the first CB off the board in Mel Kiper's opinion.
So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at Mel Kiper.
I'm using Mel Kiper just as a reference. I mean, just tell you where I get it. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. Is what I'm.
Right. I'm on PFF, so I'm.
Well, there you go. Well, I love that. We have contrasting then. Alan says Lions are winning the Super Bowl next year. Yes, Alan, let's do it. I think the odds are 18-1 right now.
They got another cornerback that it looks like where he's ranked at 54th overall. Like we could get in the second or third round. Kyrie Jackson. Did you already bring him up?
No.
6'3", 195. A little bit skinny. Got to put some meat on that bone, but I think that's what we're looking at, Mike. We need a guy that can guard those tall, contested receivers. And
so does PFF have a mock draft?
Yeah, for sure.
Pull that up and let's do a little comparison here between Mel Kiper and PFF on mock draft. Because I will tell you that on Mel Kiper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is the first 7 picks are all offense before we finally get to a defensive player, and that would be Dallas Turner, outside linebacker from Alabama. Kiper's got him going 8th to the Atlanta Falcons. And after that, so my point is, it's a very good year to need defensive help because so many of these other teams are going to be taking offense. And Funky Lions fan, you're spot on with this take. Brad Holmes has been doing his thing, and I'm not going to complain no matter what he does until it fails. You're so right, man. We're not going to second guess him. We're not going to be upset anymore. Remember every Lions draft? It's like, what are they doing?
Right.
Terry Fair? Well, who? What are you doing drafting TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah. You're right.
The West Coast stat master in the house. Welcome back, brother.
Congratulations. I know he's getting ready for that wedding.
Yep, I'm glad he was able to join in the comments today. Did you get permission, bro? Did you get permission? Get right. Congratulations from all of us here at the main event for Greg Rice getting married. You didn't hate the Hawk pick. I just hated the positional pick, that it was a tight end that high. Because if you look around the league, the best tight ends weren't first round draft picks. They certainly weren't top 10 picks. That's what I hated at the time. Greg says Terry Fair could have been really good.
So I got this mock draft up and I'm going.
Okay.
I think I got it set up here. You got Caleb Williams going number 1.
Same.
No trade. Drake May going number 2.
Okay. Kuiper's got Drake May going 3 to New England.
Okay. Malik
Neighbors
going number 3. Hold on a minute.
New England. They got New England taking a wide receiver when they have no quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. We got Marvin Harrison Jr. going 4 to the Cardinals.
Same.
Brock Bowers. Joe Alt.
Same. Except I got
Deshaun.
You got Brock Bowers going to the Chargers at 5. And then who'd you got for 6 at the Giants?
Let's see. We got Joe Alt.
Aha.
And then Cooper Deshaun.
Okay, there's a defensive player. What, at number 8, you said?
Yep.
Okay, and that's one thing that Kuiper has the same. Let's just stop right there, Russ. So the point is that the first 7 picks are offensive players. And if you go back through the next 17 or 18 picks after that, it's also dominated by offensive players. There are little pockets here of corner, little pockets of defensive end. But for the most part, sitting at 29 isn't such a bad spot when you're the Lions with their needs. When you consider what the Lions need, this is a very good year to be in the need for secondary help, pass rush help, backup offensive line help. So very promising for the Lions.
And then you got Quinyon Mitchell right there, going to the Falcons at number 8. That would be the first surprise, another cornerback, huh?
I think I like that pick as compared to what Mel Kiper has going on. He's got them taking a linebacker from Alabama. They definitely need secondary help. Atlanta. So, yeah, 8. Atlanta at 8 is the first team projected on both of these mocks to be the first team to take a defensive player. Yet, Atlanta, above all teams, needs a quarterback. There seems to be an overarching theme that the Falcons are going to go free agency for a veteran quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of rumor about Justin Fields going to Atlanta. Kirk Cousins, I've heard rumored to Atlanta. So if they do that, then it does make sense that Atlanta would go defense with that first pick because they've got all the offensive weapons. On that offense, they just need maybe an extra offensive lineman and a quarterback, and they're set.
Right, and then after that, they got Chicago taking wide receiver from Washington. I don't know how to say his last. Is it Rome Odunze?
Rome Odunze.
Rome Odunze, yeah.
Rome Odunze, wide receiver for the Washington Huskies, a baller. Some say he's better than Marvin Harrison.
Yep, there's a lot of people that are saying that a couple of the wide receivers I like better. In this one,
and who was it that was taking him?
Chicago.
Yeah,
so they got Caleb Williams and this wide receiver.
That's crazy because Kuiper has Rome Odunze going to the Chicago at 9 as well. Chad in the comments says the Bears might trade that 9th pick to get a couple of extra picks.
Yeah, they could. Number 10, the first offensive lineman from Penn State, Olu
Fashanu.
Okay, whatever. I ain't gonna learn a name unless he becomes a Lion. Um, I ain't gonna have to say, but that's the number. That's the first offensive lineman, and then everybody's chomping at the bit. Let's wait. Here we go. Nate Wiggins, cornerback, going to the Minnesota Vikings at 11.
It's exactly the same here with Kiper. Nate Wiggins sounds like a cornerback for the Vikings. His name does.
Yeah. And then at 12, we got Byron Murphy, the second defensive lineman. Terrion Arnold going to
the Raiders.
The Raiders. So there's what is that? 4 cornerbacks gone already?
3.
Yep. No, 4. Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh yeah, on mine it's 3. I'm sorry.
Cooper DeShawn.
Here's one you'll like. According to Kiper, it's the Lions that get Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh, okay. Well, it's interesting. See what we got. We're going to get to pick whoever we want when we get there. Tackle, your boy.
Joel.
Was it No, it isn't. No. Fuaga. Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State. Dallas Turner goes to from Edge from Alabama goes to the Colts. Seattle takes J.C. Latham, tackle from Alabama. Jared Verse goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's your boy right there.
17. So I could definitely see, let's just say he is the guy. I could definitely see Brad Holmes moving up to 17.
Yeah. Yeah. That probably wouldn't even cost him any more than you could probably get it done for 3rd round pick. Knowing him.
Can you look up a guy for me, Russ, on yours? Where do you have?
Let me get the draft done first because I don't want to reset the draft.
Right.
So Jackson Powers Johnson goes to the Bengals. That's a great pick for them, with Joe Burrow. Jazon Newton, defensive interior from Illinois, going to the Rams. The Steelers on the clock, and they take Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid goes to the Steelers. Graham
20.
Barton goes to the Miami Dolphins. Latu goes to
who?
Latu.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. Edge from UCLA going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, those guys just load up on the defense.
That'll make Greg Rice like, why is that UCLA guy going to go to Philly?
Yeah. Amarius Mims from Georgia going to the Houston Texans. Dallas on the clock. Troy Franklin, wide receiver, Oregon. Green Bay taking Troy Fananatu from Washington, tackle. Tampa Bay taking Tyler Nubin, safety, Minnesota. Peyton Wilson going to the Arizona linebacker. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from LSU. And then we are on the clock with, Jaden Daniels still on the clock. Somebody would trade up for that. Somebody would trade up to get Jaden Daniels if we're still on.
Who does PFF have the Lions taken?
I didn't do that. I guess I made it so I was making the pick, so it stopped. So I'm just going to tell you who's available.
Are you telling me everything you just read us was your picks?
No, everything that I just read us was who they were going to pick, but I'm the Lions. So.
Oh, you did a mock like you. Oh, I see.
Now on my pick.
So you're picking 29. So has Chop Robinson been drafted yet? Defensive end from Penn State?
Let me see.
That wasn't what I was hoping to get out of that. Big Dan Davis says a guy that he loves in this draft class is defensive tackle edge Darius Robinson out of Missouri. He can rush the passer from inside and out, play anywhere in the D line, and has a motor that never dies. Well, a motor that never dies sounds like a good guy for this defense to go along with Aiden Hutchinson's motor. So where does Big Dan, that's what I was hoping that Russ would look up, is Darius Robinson. from Missouri. Where do they have him mocked at?
Chop Robinson is available. Chris Brazel from Alabama. Both edges from Penn State are ranked right there. And who do you want me to look up?
Darius Robinson, edge from Missouri. It's a guy Big Dan Davis has identified.
Yeah,
I just want to see where there's his expected draft position is. Where do they see him mocking to?
Is he somebody?
I thought you were going to give me a full mock of the first round. Are picks 30 through 32 listed on that mock?
You know what? I'm going to go back. See, yeah, it is. I can just start over. Really, I'm just going to take all those guys off. Can I?
You're not going to start over. Number 30. What was on the mock?
No, I just lost it.
Oh, okay.
I just lost it, but you didn't want that anyway. You didn't want what I wanted. You wanted to see what we picked and just go, right?
Dan says that Darius has the versatility Dan Campbell and Holmes love in their players. So I have heard his name, Dan. It cost Brad both thirds, but he'd get 17, a fourth this year and a third next. So if we weren't to go up to 17, because that's where Jared Verse was mocked in yours. On Mel Kiper, it's Cooper DeJean. So this is what the whole exercise we were doing here. Who's a guy that fits what Brad Holmes is doing, and how far up would we have to go to get him? And what I'm asking from you, Russ, is this guy that Dan's talking about, Darius Robinson, where do they have him mocked going?
Darius Robinson is not going in the first round.
Okay. So, Dan, you're liking this guy, but this is a guy we'd have to get, 61? Would he make it that far?
I'm looking here. Full results.
So, Dan, I love that suggestion. What we're asking is, who's a guy in this draft in the first round that might be a Brad Holmes guy? How far up would he have to go to get him? Put it in the comments. Let us know what you think. I think Jared Verse is a good example. That was 17 on your mock. Cooper DeJean on my mock is also 17. So that might be a good spot to shoot for.
And what's he play? What's his position?
He's an edge from Missouri.
Edge.
Darius Robinson. I heard he killed it. Absolutely killed it at the Senior Bowl. He was the standout player at the Senior Bowl.
Isaac. Is it from Missouri, you said, though?
Darius, not, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. He's the 45th ranked prospect. Yeah, they could end up taking him at 29.
Yeah, 45th. So that's within the realm, right? The great GM Bill Polian once said there's only 18 guys a year, less than 20 every year, 15 to 18, he said, that are true first round grade. There's 32 picks in the first round, but only 18 of those guys are the first round graded players. And we heard Brad Holmes say it the other day. There's an even smaller subset of players that are generational, that are going to change their franchise's trajectory. And you can't miss on that guy. Who do you think, when you look at this list, whether it be from Mel Kiper or PFF or wherever you're looking at a mock, maybe you follow college a lot closer than I do all year, and you've been identifying this guy all year. This Cooper DeJean, I've heard his name a lot. But when you see Iowa play, they're getting blown out by Michigan.
Well, something interesting that I've noticed about the guys that you like Jared Verse, and this Robinson guy, I mean, most of these edge players are about 250. And these guys that you think are standing out, Darius Robinson is 296 pounds, dude. He's 6'5" as an edge. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds like a guy with some position versatility that could move. I mean, he has the size to be inside too.
Mm-hmm. Big Dan says Darius was a Senior Bowl standout. Has generated first round buzz. If he has himself a good combine, he could end up right there at 29 or just inside the first round.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see how these switch too, because he just brought that up. Right now, his boy, Darius Robinson, is the 45th overall prospect in the draft. And I'd love to see what the combine is going to do for him. Because if he can move and he can test out, that dude will move up.
Mm-hmm. And just does it show you the entire list of prospects by number?
Yes.
So the Lions pick again at 69. Who does it show at 69?
Well, the guys that are in that range. Now,
yeah.
Keep in mind that Darius Robinson could be there. You don't know, because some people value guys differently. So Darius Robinson, the 53rd overall prospect, is Jonah Ellis, edge defender from Utah. He's a little bit smaller size. Braylon Trice from Washington is the 67th overall prospect, and he's 6'4", 274 out of Washington. I know that Washington had a pretty good team this year. Austin Booker from Kansas, 6'6", 245. At the 73rd overall prospect. Gabriel Murphy, 6'3", 260, edge defender from UCLA, 77th overall prospect. Marshawn Keeland, 6'3", 275, Western Michigan. And he's the 89th overall prospect. Now we're probably getting into third round guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stop you right there. Detroit Fan Man says, if the options are Chop Robinson versus an offensive lineman, I think I'm going to go with a future offensive tackle who also can play guard now. That's a good, but in the first round, Fan Man, then that means you better have a good line on free agency for the defense. If you're going to go offensive lineman, and I know that Brad Holmes, this is exactly what we're talking about. Position be damned. He's going to find the guy that he thinks is going to make his football team better, regardless of their position. But you damn well better have the answer for the defense and the needs somewhere. He approaches the draft. His philosophy on the draft is different than the traditional or what we've been seeing from this franchise for the last 30 years. The splash name means nothing to him. He doesn't care. He said, we don't care about winning in March. We want to win in December.
Right.
The moves that I'm going to make. Andrew Merklinger also says, I also love Darius Robinson out of Missouri. A defensive end from Mizzou. Big Dan says that you are correct, Russ. He did switch. He actually played his first 2 years at Mizzou at defensive tackle and then moved out to the edge.
I love the size, Dan. You're looking at, what Dan or what Brad Holmes likes to look for is guys that have traits that you can't teach. And if you got traits that you can't teach somebody how to be 6'5" and, badder than everybody. I mean, I think that's why we drafted Broderick Martin in the third round. Is like, it's not that he played football better than anybody last year. It's that you can't teach a guy to have longer arms and be 350 pounds and bigger and badder than everybody. They just got to teach him how to play football.
Greg says, I get what Fan Man is saying. You have to keep investing in your strengths in order to maintain the status quo. Yeah, I get it. Especially when you've got a quarterback like Jared Goff, who's not mobile. You need that offensive line has to be the strength of your team. But if you're going to go with the very first pick there, you better have a backup plan to address those defensive needs. Remember, we were all shocked when they took Jahmyr Gibbs because we needed secondary help. We needed it then. And then he takes Jahmyr Gibbs like, what's he doing? Well, he gets Chauncey Gardner and Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton. We go, oh, okay.
Right.
Now it makes sense. So, yeah, offensive tackle is definitely a running up the rear at third position of need for this team, right? Pass rush, secondary help, and then offensive line help along that as well. I think we can all agree there.
Yeah, I think they're going to go into I mean, if I had any type of bold prediction, it's going to be that I think they're going to fill their secondary needs in free agency because it's so much harder to get a secondary guy to come in year one like Brian Branch and be really, really effective. You want guys that already have experience in the secondary. You can get, interior offensive linemen and pass rushers that you can develop in the later rounds that you just rush the passer. It's not as cerebral as some of the cornerback jobs. So you want a guy with experience. So I expect them to go get a couple of those experienced cornerbacks. And then that way, when they get to the draft, they can just take a lineman or whatever's there, whatever they want, whatever is generational, for 5 years down the road.
And one thing also, the Lions have 4 picks in the top 100. Right. So you're talking about 4 top tier draft prospects that you can identify at 61, 73, 92. That gives you a lot of capital as well to move up. Those are value picks, right? You've got no pick in the 4th round, but you got 2 third rounders. You package up 2 of those 3s, you can move up to 17, I believe.
Yeah.
Like one of our commenters had said that. It's going to cost you 2 3s and maybe a future 3rd as well to move up that high, but and give up your 1 at 29 as well. It might cost you that. But if Brad Holmes got a guy, if he has identified a guy, I think by hook or by crook, he makes it happen. Go ahead, Russ. Sorry.
With the Brad Holmes did a whole bunch of stuff in the middle rounds last year that I think gets overlooked too, where, he may just pick at 29 and then with that 2nd round pick, he trade down and then trade back up from the 3rd round and then trade down into the 4th and end up getting a 4th round pick with a 5th round pick attached to it. Like, he did a whole bunch of just maneuvering around to make sure that he got his guys. So I think I expect that this year. I expect him with those last 3 100 picks, the 2nd and 2 third round picks, for him to do a little bit of playing around. When he trades down, getting an extra 4th and a 5th out of those deals. I expect him to do some stuff like that.
It's Big Dan throwing out a couple of names here. Late round cornerback prospect, day 3 guys. Al Blades Jr., the nephew of Benny Blades. Also, Dwight McLaughlin out of Arkansas and Jarius Monroe out of Tulane. Those guys are long CBs and are good. Yeah, length in the secondary. The average corner is 5'11". You see him 5'10", 5'9" even. You get one over 6 feet with good hips, can move in and out, make breaks on the ball. Those kind of guys are at a premium on draft day.
Yep. Right? Nate Wiggins, 6'2".
Yep. And if you're looking for late rounders, look at those, those picks we just said. There's going to be guys like that available when you've got 4 picks in the top 100.
TJ Tampa, 6'2".
He's got to go to the Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I like that Kyrie Jackson. That just seems like a good, 2nd round, 3rd round pick right there. Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon. You can't teach 6'3". I'm just looking at some of these. I'm looking at some of these taller guys and see if I can't identify a couple of these dudes.
Greg says if Latu falls to 29, I would love it. I won't move up to get him though. But isn't he an outside linebacker?
Who?
But again, it's the Latu kid from UCLA. But he's listed as a linebacker. But again, Brad Holmes doesn't care what your listing is. If he's the guy, that could be the guy.
Cam Hart from Notre Dame, listed as the 109th overall prospect, 6'2", 207 pounds. I actually remember him in one of the games I watched with Notre Dame last year. That was a team that they thought was going to be really, really good on defense. And Cam Hart was a guy that stood out. 83.3 overall was his grade for the season.
Oh, boy. We got some wiseacres in the chat here, buddy. It's the bad guy. It's the bad guy, John Kapler. Take a look at the bad guy.
Wait. Yeah, he's usually who's he crapping on today?
Nobody. He's getting crapped on. Detroit fan man's calling out his spelling.
Oh, stop calling out spelling, yo.
Philosophy.
Don't call out.
Maybe they're making fun of me. Maybe they're making fun of the way I pronounce it. Philosophy. It sounds like falafel.
Hey, nobody knows these guys yet. Like
Greg says that Latu can play with his hand in the dirt. Okay. You're out there watching Bruins games. I'm not, but we will be soon, brother. You think you hate Michigan now?
Yeah, you wait.
Ooh.
You wait. We got a couple weeks yet, Mike. We got a couple weeks before all of the podcast pros are going to come on and pretend like they watch tape on all these guys as they steal everybody else's analysts of these draft picks. You know, I was watching the tape, Mike, and I'm really liking the bend out of Tutu Alafufu from Oregon.
Oh, geez.
Did I say that name right? Tutu Alafufu.
Oh, that's great. John Negative Nancy Kapler. I love the bend on Tui Alafufu. Yeah, I was breaking down film the other day.
I was watching his bend. You know, his pad level was amazing.
You were breaking down film. What do you mean? Where was you breaking down? Oh, you was watching some YouTube clips?
I watched a couple YouTube clips of some other guy that said that he was breaking down films.
Oh, right. You've been watching Football Talk with Russell Wayne, and you haven't really clicked the like button yet. Do the right thing, people. It doesn't cost nothing. You just reach down. Hey, I'm going to click like here because it helps these guys' page just a little bit.
Yep. It probably won't.
Go ahead.
You know, it probably won't make your life any better in any way other than it's going to give us a ego boost, but we appreciate it. It helps us.
And don't forget Jeremy B. Smoking Jeremy B. It's Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B. at 11 a.m. on this very network. Right over wherever you're watching right now, you can watch that also. And then we'll be back again tomorrow, 3 p.m. Football Talk with Russell Wayne. Be sure to follow us on Facebook.
Faith, family, football. We believe in that, you know, and usually in our description, we have a link. You would have to go back to one of the prior shows, but if you've ever used our giving link that's there, we appreciate that because Pastor Kevin Galloway is out in the community, Genesee County, and we're serving the community out there. NTC Church does a great job out there, and if you use that link, you're helping us. You're helping us serve the community, and we appreciate that because it's faith, family, and football. Family and football, that part's easy. You know, we're doing this. We're doing this 365 days a year. The Detroit Lions Villain Squad, the content, we're putting it up. We're putting it up. We want you to join the conversation. Join the conversation and be part of our network. Faith, family, and football. Spend time with your family. Use football to spend time with your family. Don't let football use you. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tomorrow afternoon. Football Talk with Russell Wayne. Peace out.
What's up, y'all? This is Ifeatu Melifonwu, safety for the Detroit Lions. And I just want to take some time out to give a big shout out to Russell Wayne and Main Event Mike from the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. It's a fan page and a podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate the support of me and my team. And I encourage everyone to go check out their podcast and check out their fan page. Go Lions.